Hey Nadav, how you doing?
Hello. Hey, Eran. I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, it's a holiday season. Somewhere in the
Yes.
world it's Easter. Here in Israel
Yes,
it's
it's
Passover.
the right time to record this session. Everyone's asleep at home. So it's good time for us to catch up. Yeah.
Probably that's the case. First and foremost, thank you so much for making the time, even throughout the holiday, to make this podcast with me here. I think
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's an no-brainer. We know each other for quite some time. I've seen you in many occasions within the cybersecurity space. You've been on stage many, many times. You have great insights into the hyperscalers and partnership and alliances, which is fantastic. And I think it will be great for our audience just to get a glimpse into what the hell is going on in your life because your journey was quite impressive, and I think sharing that with our audience will be something for everyone to learn something from it. So no further ado, let's get rolling. So tell
Yes.
us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. The first classic question.
Absolutely.
My yeah. First again, thank you for inviting me. I'll introduce myself. My name is Nadav Tzuker. I'm 30 years old. I live in Tel Aviv in Israel. With my wife and dog and soon kid.
Wow.
I Yes, yes. Hopefully,
Congratulations.
foot, how we say in Israel.
Yeah.
And I've been so currently I'm working at Wiz. In the last 4 years, I've been in the partnership alliances sphere. Prior to that, um, I started my journey basically in the military service, like a lot of folks in the industry did. I was in the 8200 unit. Then, when I finished my service, immediately after I started working, I wanted to explore my opportunities in the tech industry. So I started working for a that's more in the ad tech industry, but they're quite a big IPO'd ad tech company in Israel. I worked there for 5 years, did some technical roles. I was a fraud analyst and I did some small development work. And this I also did, while doing, some studying. So I was a student for law and business. And so this entire 5 year journey included like working for Taboola and being a student all at once. In my last year of studying, I actually tried, my own entrepreneurial journey. So I had a started with folks from the unit that I knew from the army services as part of a program called Zell Entrepreneurship Program. That's sort of an accelerator at the Reichman University in Israel. And so I dropped everything. I said, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur. Shift to the business part, which also always intrigued me a little bit more than the technical part. Although I believe, a technical person needs to have, business perspectives and
Absolutely.
vice versa. And so I had a 1 year attempt on my own venture. Um, Close to the company that I work for that started March 2020, Wiz, and COVID helped them reach those new heights. For me, it was the opposite, and so we decided to close the venture. And then I was already with the business, aspirations, and then I went and worked for a company called Granulate. That's an Israeli startup, currently an acquired startup by Intel. They were acquired last year in May 2021. Sorry, 2022. I joined as employee number 20, and this is also maybe relevant to stuff we'll talk about, in a couple minutes from now. But I joined as the partnerships guy at employee number 20. So they did something that I think not a lot of companies do.
That's an interesting.
Their
Yeah.
second business hire, yeah, the second business hire was a partnership guy because they understood the potential of working with specifically AWS in that regard,
Yep.
of developing a partnership to fill in the exit strategy that they planned for, to fill in the co-sell strategy that they planned for. And so they basically hired me and told me like, okay, we have the basics, the establishment of the partnership with AWS, go and execute. And this was kind of a new world to me, which I had to learn from scratch, basically. Like when we talk about partners, you first, at least to my opinion, you need to understand how the partner works. Each partner that applies to all types of partners, like how the organization is built, who are the key personas, how are they incentivized, are there any plans or programs you as a vendor could take part in the partner's organization, and how can I befriend the people that can actually help me prove my worthiness, and by I mean the company's worthy to actually get more traction, to get more customers, more opportunities. And so this was my first test, trying to understand like AWS and why should you be a partner and what are the benefits. And once you understand that, the next step would be to execute. So I want to be, I want to get the most exposure, customers, pipeline enrichment, whatever you can, relate to partners. So this was like a 2-year journey. I also, during that time, we started a partnership with Intel that, eventually turned out to be an acquisition. And I also was in charge. Yeah. So I was also part of the team that, built and executed on that, which was super interesting. And then, you have a couple partners. You need to align the strategies with the end goal of being acquired. So that's also an interesting story. And then 2 years after I started at Granulate and after the acquisition, I was approached by Wiz, which is my current employer. And so I've been working for Wiz for the past 9 months.
Another
terrific
story.
And amazing. I'll say a lot of
let's keep that for because I have some question for you around that, because Wiz is one of those I think admirable companies out there today.
Totally.
Within the cyberspace, just because I think it shattered some of the world records in terms of revenue growth, etc. So this is something very interesting, I think, for me to understand how that company managed to do that and what we can learn.
So I'm a big fan of Wiz, so I'll say a lot of good things later on.
Fantastic. Okay. So just, I don't want to cut you in the middle. I know you have like a thought train here. Ask one question which is similar to all of my guests, and I think it represents how professionals, partnership professionals, ecosystem professionals perceive partnerships. And I think the question is, what is partnership for you? Because every person that I ask what partnership is all about, take it to a different angle and have a different thoughts process on what partnership should be and how they perceive that. So what's partnership for you?
Okay. I think there's 2 angles to it. Like in everything in life or business, I think there's the calculated answer and then there's the personal answer. I'll maybe start with the calculated answers, because I think the end goal is to integrate those 2 answers to actually get to the perfect partnership or perfect partner for you specifically. Because this what is the perfect partner, maybe there's some guidelines that apply to all, but it's really different to each company based on what your goal is and what you're trying to sell. So let's start with the more calculated angle. The perfect partner should be a partner that fits your business strategy, because I've seen a lot of partnership folks or people that do alliances, channels managers, however you want to call it, put a lot of time and resources to map the different partners that they can work with, and start working with a partner that at the end of the day, like let's say 6 months later, they see not a lot of good results. And this is because maybe at the mapping stage they just did not know exactly what they need. And so the perfect partner on the the calculated front should be a partner that works with customers that fit your persona, that works in industries that fit the verticals that you're looking for, that has the and again, I'm talking from my perspective, partnership is just a big thing, but that has the technical and professional understanding of your solution and how it could fit the customers that they work with, and that has enough people or enough attention to provide to you, or enough bandwidth that you can actually work when you execute. Because I've seen a lot of talks with partners that were just like, okay, we can do this and that, and then when you get to the executional part, it's just it faints and just misses in the dust. And so you
We
need
all
to
familiar with
actually,
that. Yeah.
yes, exactly. And so that the more calculated answer is just you need to have a perfect fit, professionally, on a business level, on a vertical level, on a aspirational level, regional level. Like you need to understand like who and when you want to target. And so that's more the calculated answer. I can go maybe into more specifics when we discuss later. But the more the more personal aspect, I think it's just I've seen a lot of great success stories between one partner and another partner only because they just became friends. And so at the end of the day, it's a
So
bit
you
cliche,
mean
but
relationship, building up strong
yes,
relationship with the
yes,
partners
it sounds like a
on a
cliche because
personal
someone that,
level.
yes, but I mean I think it's super relevant because as salespeople say, you don't buy from a vendor, you buy from a person. And so if you have an amazing tool, but then the seller just doesn't know how to sell it, or just doesn't know how to understand the other side, the procurer, what they need, how I can help them, this tool will never be sold. And so the same goes for partnership. So you can have an amazing, you can be an amazing vendor with a great product, and that like the best fit for the partner. But at the end of the day, the other side, they are already super busy. They work with, vendors that they know for many, many, many years. Some of them are your competitors. And so you need to not only, convince them that on the tech part or the product part, you are the best fit for them, but you need to also develop this relationship. And this applies, I think, to all different types of partners, because again, people are busy. People don't usually know you or your product. They may have heard of you, but that's not enough. And you need to work with them. You're not just building a partnership to execute on one's win, but you're building a relationship that hopefully will last for a couple years or even more than that. And this is why you have to be friends. It's like you're starting a company with someone. You need to get along in order for stuff to
So
happen.
that's interesting. It's interesting, Nadav, because you're selling globally. How do you make those connections, personal connections with scatters group around the world? Because you're not selling just in Israel, right? You're selling all over the world.
Yeah.
So how you kind of go over this long distance type of relationship, right? That you need to put in front of you in order for them
Yes.
to be fully minded about about your goals, about your execution, about your product. What's the secret?
um, First, I think whatever you can do from home. COVID allowed us to, start a new life. People work from home, so a lot of, I think, hard work from home includes, the right emails, customized value propositions, follow-ups, Zoom calls. A lot can happen from afar, but you have to have, the personal touch. So fly a lot. That's, again, I think it's just a matter of how the company perceives. Like, what's the strategy for the company? If the company says, okay, I want to focus on partners, I'm not just looking around, I do want to focus on partners. I understand send your people in, like, fly them over, have lunches, dinners, go out, go see the office, host your partner at your headquarters, either if it's close to them, or if for us, for example, in Israel. So I'm the Israeli guy in the partnership team at Wiz, but there's a lot of other folks I work with in the US. Every time they have a partner, even if I'm not working with the partner directly, I'm hosting them at the Israeli office. I'm showing them around. I'm trying to get, some executives here to come say hi, to be a part, because then they actually feel involved. They know your company better. And so the personal touch is very important in that regard. Yeah.
You said something very important. You said it should be at the mindset of the executive team to be
Yes.
focused on partnership.
Yeah.
So how does it look like from your end, from your perspective?
It's a journey. It takes time. I mean, unless the founder has, it's a second timer, or they have like past experience working with partners, they understand it. Usually founders are either not aware of the benefits of working with partners, or even worse than that, they could be suspicious. It's like, they're gonna take 30% of my
Right.
my deals, and my revenue will be cut down. I'll just hire superstar selling people and like sellers, and they'll do the work. And then there's, I think, for every partner executive or just partner manager, there's a hustle just to get to build. Also, we said relationships. You need to build a relationship with the executives, with leadership, with the people like the CRO or the VP sales, but also the founders, because at the end of the day, you're gonna get, as we said, you'll need to get resources. You want to hire people that will help you. The Wiz partnership team is like 20 something people. That wasn't the case to begin with. It's not like our founders said, okay, I want to build a team of 20 something, partner professionals. No, they hired someone that built the strategy. Our VP Channels Alliances, her name is Trish. She built the entire strategy. She said, okay, these are the partners I want to focus on. This is how I want to execute. These are the resources. Started communicating success stories all the way up to the board, actually, of investors, because they are also an integral part, that in their communication with the leadership, with the founders, they are the ones that will allocate you resources. Or you need, for example, there's a partner, you need to have your CEO meet their CEO. Your CEO is super busy, and so you need to communicate success stories with this partner and the potential in order for the CEO to clear up some time. And so it's really a journey that you cannot stop with. You need to be very communicative throughout the entire process, and you need to be very specific when you set the KPIs and hire the people and determine which partners you want to work with. In all of these processes, you need to be very communicative with success stories and even failure stories. It's just like whatever it is, it's kind of a new thing a lot of people are not aware of, and so you have a lot of education to do internally in order to progress with that.
That brings me to two questions. Okay, we're just RSA is just around the corner. I think it's the mecca of the conferences, right?
Yeah.
Cyberspace. Everybody is going to be there in 2.5 weeks. And the cyberspace is not as easy as it seems in terms of getting in front of partners, drive revenue through partnerships, together with the hyperscalers today, AWS, Microsoft, Google of the world. It's getting more complex and even more, there's more fierce competition, right, on resources and mind share of the customer. So how early, in your mind, companies within the cyberspace should go about building their alliances, partnerships? And who's the typical partner manager, alliance manager that probably would be a good fit into that role?
Okay, it's a hard two questions, but I'll try to answer them.
I like to ask our questions because the answers are going to be super interesting.
Yeah, okay, so I'll try.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so how early? It depends. That's the answer. It depends on the product that you have. The better together story, that's like another cliche that they like to say, but better together is actually a practical tool that you need to set in stone from a very early stage of building partnerships. Like, am I able to create a story, a better together story with this partner? Like, what can I tell? Because at the end of the day, you're going to sell that to people, and people know how to detect something that's like artificial. So again, it goes back to the calculated answer I gave you earlier. Like, how can I build this better together story? And if I can, let's try to execute on that. And so my perspective is, you need to at least think about it and deal with it as early as possible. I talk with a lot of founders of like small startups, even 10, 15, 20 people, but they have big dreams, and in those big dreams, partnerships are like a big, strong channel in those dreams, and this is where they start looking around. So I think founders should be working on partnerships from day one, not necessarily building the partnerships and hiring people.
Agree.
But if you have a story to tell, if you have a product that your competitors are already working with big partners, especially with the hyperscalers, you need to have a better together story. It needs to be around the cloud. If you want to work with AWS, Microsoft, Google, it needs to be a story you can tell together with them. And so as long as you have that, let's say, for example, cybersecurity, Wiz, there's an amazing story to tell with AWS, for example. AWS, gets customers to onboard, to put their things on the cloud, put their data, their code on the cloud. They now have cloud infrastructure and environment. Next step would be to secure that infrastructure. And so that's like the perfect journey to go through. And so when you go on the cloud on AWS, and then you start looking to how can I secure my workloads on the cloud? This is when Wiz and AWS come back to you and say, use Wiz for AWS. This is the personalized messaging we prepared for you. These are the use cases we know you
so
already.
There is a strong alignment in terms of why this partnership will be successful for both both sides.
Exactly. And when you understand it, I think this is even earlier than that. This is when you need to start executing. So that means let's map the partners. Let's start becoming a partner of them, because there is like a more logistical phase that you need to go through in order to actually become a partner of AWS, for example. They have co-sell programs, they have partner programs. AWS specifically has an organization called APO, that's Amazon Partner Network, or AWS partner organization. Sorry, that's like thousands of people. All of them are AWS employees, and their goal is to help ISVs like yourself, like your startup, to excel on their ecosystem. And so once you understand you have potential in working together with AWS, the next step would be to understand how those how can I join those different programs? What are the benefits for me? And usually this is the time where the friction starts, because at this time it's usually like either the CEO or CTO or VP operations or a product person deals with that, and then they say, okay, I don't have time for all of that. I see potential. Let's hire someone. And that goes to your second question. When hiring people to do alliances, the optimal thing would be to hire someone that already did alliances.
Done that
again,
before.
I'm talking, before, and I'm talking again. I'm giving the example of the hyperscalers, the AWS, Google, Microsoft, but this applies to all types of partnerships you want to develop. You want to have someone that already did this work, because again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier. This person needs to know how the other organization is built. They need to have friends. It's easier. It's just they know everything and they know people. And so one phone call and they're already part of those programs I talked about earlier. They need to know how to execute and have success stories. So you, like in every other role, you need to hire someone with, with experience. But the thing is, it's kind of a new, world. I mean, partnerships.
That's the
and
problem.
alliances.
There's not enough alliances manager out there. So,
exactly. And this is why I think it's on us, the people doing partnerships, alliances, to enable the entire industry, the entire world. Actually, it sounds like a big thing, but I mean, there are, for example, in Israel. So there's like 2 years ago, there were like 20, 30 people who did alliances, partnerships a bit more, like if you were talking about traditional partners, like, resellers and stuff. But if I'm talking the new world of alliances, 20, 30 people. Today, there's 200, and it's been 2 years. My anticipation, there will be hopefully no,
there'll be a larger
big
community.
things will happen. And
we
need the economy to support that. But at the end of the day, I think like 2 years from now, there's going to be 500, 600 alliance managers. I know of 20 different startups that approached me and asked me if I can help them, hire someone in Israel. And so this is only in Israel. The US, they have a couple thousands people. And this, again, is growing because companies understand there's potential in working, again, going back with the hyperscalers, but they don't really understand how to do that or don't have the time. And so this is when they hire someone. So the optimal way would be to hire someone that, worked in this industry. If not, it's a lot, it's very mixed. It could be salespeople, could be people that work for the hyperscalers themselves that want to do interest and become an alliance manager, from the other front. It could be, technical folks, because it is a technical world. So technical people, like product people, want to do transition to being business folks. And the last thing I'll say in that regard is, going back to what I said, it's on us to educate our executives, our leadership, and the entire industry. And this is why, maybe I'll talk about it in a minute, but this is why me and a couple of folks, we started a community called Cloud People in Israel.
I love communities. I love communities.
Yes, me too. I think in this, and when you see a gap like this one, where there is a lot of think about it, 2023, a lot of positions are closed, companies are closed, but there's a contradiction trend now that is like people are looking for alliance managers, and that's a role that a lot of people would want to work for. And so it's only a matter of enabling the potential future employees and enabling the companies on what exactly you need to do. And this is why we started Cloud People. We're getting together all alliance managers.
So what's the role? What's the role of that community? What's the play?
Okay.
What's your envision?
First and foremost, it was just like a very naive decision. We said, oh, there's so many alliance managers popping out like mushrooms in the rain, and a lot of them are new. A lot of them are new to the role, and they're looking for someone to enable them, to teach them. And if you go online and search how to partner with AWS, how to co-sell with AWS, there's not a lot of content actually that's not AWS content or Google content or Microsoft content. You want to have something like a place that's agnostic, a place that gets together all professionals in that industry, again, because it is a new and developing market. And so the first vision was, let's just get everyone together. Here in Tel Aviv, in Israel, it's easy. We had a launch event. We had like 120 people that showed up. Mm-hmm. Everyone are alliance managers. That's like 80% of the people in Israel that do that. So that's, and those people are, they live on networking and community. And so it was a fruitful meeting. This was the first vision. And then the future vision, which we already are implementing, is this would be a place for people to come and learn about how to do cloud partnerships, people that work on the cloud, because companies spend millions of dollars on the cloud, and they are eager to get something back, and there is something to get back. This is what the hyperscalers offer. And so we want to enable the people, and we want to go global, because I think specifically in that niche, being for cloud alliances specifically, that is agnostic to all clouds, there isn't. I mean, we already partnering with other communities in the world, but we want to take from the Zionist thinking and how everything happens in Israel in such a small place, and try to see how we can share that with the rest of the world. So that's the big
fantastic vision. That's a great initiative, and I think strongly about communities. I think community as a whole should be as part of your partnership strategy from the get-go.
Totally. Yeah.
So understanding where your audience is, and if they're part of an existing community, that's great. But if you have to structure a brand new community just to attract the audience, that's another thing that can be done. And many companies are doing that, right? HubSpot, Salesforce, right? They have huge communities, right? Monday.com.
Wiz too, actually. If you're
really?
if you're a security professional, join the Wiz Slack community.
Fantastic. So every I think
there's a lot of value in that.
A lot of smart companies are taking the community seriously and building know-how, knowledge transfer, right? Get people together, sort of kind of a place for everybody to hook up and kind of share their thoughts, insights, and challenges. So this is great, because I think we will talk in the future about that community, because I will be able to hook you up to others as well, and that's a fantastic initiative. So well done. In regards to let's just shift the gears a little bit here, okay? So let's talk about Wiz, okay? I think it's one of the fastest growing company in the world, and I think you are focusing on partnership heavily. So can you tell us a little bit of what's going on in that space? What's your take? Where do you see this market heading? Why it's so successful in terms of the alliances side? What triggers that?
Okay, yeah. Maybe I'll start from the end. Wiz this year, 2023, announced it's gonna go 100% partner first. Not a lot of companies in the world, did a similar announcement. And it's, there's so many reasons for why Wiz is successful. This is only one of them, but it is a critical reason. I'll maybe talk for 1 minute about Wiz, and then I'll go back to why Wiz is focusing on partners. So if there's anyone that's listening that doesn't know about Wiz, Wiz is a cloud security platform, basically offering, cloud users, cloud companies, a tool that's more one tool for anything related to securing their cloud infrastructure. And so Wiz is, I always say, that's like the second generation of cloud security. It's like 15, 8, 20 solutions in one dashboard, one security graph. And the product is amazing. I'm not a product person, but I have worked with a couple of different complex products, because Wiz is, at the end of the day, it's security cloud, a lot of resources, very complex, but it's so intuitive, so understanding, the end user. And this is one of the reasons for success. At the end of the day, the product is good. Wiz was founded 2020 by 4 founders that already worked. They know each other for 20 years from their military service. 2015, they sold the company to Microsoft. The company was called Adalom, and then they basically became the leadership of Microsoft cloud, Azure security leadership in terms of strategy and execution. And Asaf, our CEO, later became the GM of the Microsoft R&D center in Israel. Yeah, and so they basically are, I see them as like the founding fathers of cloud security. And they believe, and again, I agree with that security, like the traditional cybersecurity, is here to stay, of course. But since there's a big transition to cloud from small startups to big organizations, governmental organizations, like everything will be on the cloud, let's say 10 years from now, or at least this is how we envision it. This is why you need to build proficiency around cloud security. And so this is, again, why I think Wiz is so successful. They foresee how the industry will change, and they adopt, and adapt their product to the customer's need. And the third thing is just everyone here knows cybersecurity so well, because they either been users or sellers or whatever related to cybersecurity. You just apply that to the new trend that's cloud security, which makes Wiz so successful. But I think on the maybe sales front of Wiz, what they did smartly is use a partner first attitude, marketplace first strategy. That means that Wiz is aiming, this is also public, where we announced it everywhere. Colin, our CRO, talks about it wherever he can. Is like, we are aiming to have every deal go through a partner, either with a partner, from a partner, build with the partner, goes through the market, whatever. We want to have partners involved. And the strategy is that partners bring a lot of value. Partners usually know customers from a different angle, or or better than we know them, because we are a first timer. We're a seller. We're trying to sell a solution to thousands of companies in the world. We probably don't know them as well as their partners do. And if you do that, the 100% partner first strategy, which is already something Wiz is executing from the past, it's just now we're announcing it. And then this goes back to what we talked about. You build relationships with those partners that will take you to the next 5-10 years,
long-lasting relationships, strong ones with huge value for both parties.
Exactly. And so, and this applies to stuff, I think we talked a little bit before we started recording, like the different types of partners. And so there's the the traditional resellers that you need to, and this again goes back to your question about how to to build that in new markets. I think that's the only way to penetrate a new market, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Like let's take a new country. Wiz, we're like professionals in cybersecurity. We know English, we know Hebrew, but that's it. And when you talk about, Austria in Europe, none of us knows the language. None of us know a lot of people there. And so we can try to, use an existing HR recruiter to try to find a few sellers and enable them, and onboard into Wiz and do all this stuff. Or and then you are only depending on their success with the existing
their
region,
network.
but maybe their
network,
their network, their understanding, their connections, and this could fail. And something that will definitely work is if you, again, going back to what we said, map the relevant partners you can start, penetrating the market with. And so and that's also a one-to-many strategy. You develop a relationship with one or two very good partners. They have 50, 100, 200 customers they are already working with, talking about resellers, of course.
Yep.
And they could actually take you to their customers. And once you create 1-2 wins, you can, promote those wins and, build a bigger brand. And so there's the resellers, there's the integrators. I won't go maybe into all of them, but there's if I want to map it very quickly, there's the resellers, there's the national or global integrators, the biggest companies in the world, Accenture, Deloitte, NTT, they are already working with, thousands of customers. They know their infrastructure. They have a lot of knowledge and data that can benefit you as a seller. And the only thing you need to do is to build a relationship with them. And then there's the hyperscalers, which are, again, essential, at least to my understanding, to penetrate a new market and to hold an existing market. For example, with the different hyperscalers, Google, Microsoft, AWS, most of our work is still done in the US, although most of our customers are in the US. But this is why we keep nurturing this relationship, because they are giving us so many benefits. They're helping us with, since we're part of the different co-sell programs, with enriching the pipeline, influencing, pipeline opportunities that are stuck. They help us with creating new opportunities. And even after you do the selling and, the customer becomes your customer, you want to renew them next year. You want to, keep retention. And so the relationship with the different partners helps you give the customer the best experience possible and to trust you more than your competitors who are maybe less strong with the different partners as you. And this, I think, gives companies, again, Wiz, this is what I think they did start smartly. It gives Wiz a huge competitive advantage, which, again, at the end of the day, it's what you need when you're in such a, competitive landscape. You need to do something that your competitors don't do, not only on the product front, but on the business front. And partners are the way to do that, at least in my opinion. Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I always think about partnerships and alliances that are built on three major pillars, which is people. And we talked about people today, right? It's processes, right? And we mentioned processes. And I think the last part is technology. All the tech stack that supports that kind of engine, the flywheel, right? As we say. So what's your take on the technology side? How technology actually involved in your day-to-day? How important is technology? What do you use for, helping you to kind of automate most of the processes, or helping you to, and you mentioned co-sell, co-market. What's your take on
that? So I'll maybe share a slide later, or we can put it on the description, but we have a slide that we did in the launch event for Cloud People, where we talked about the 5 pillars of alliances. Again, some of them we already talked about: marketing, co-sell, you as a customer with the different cloud partners. And one of the pillars is product and go-to-market, or the tech front. And so, for example, again, as I mentioned, we're doing cloud security. AWS, Google, Microsoft, they also have cloud security solutions. And so I think what you need to do when you are encountering such a thing, a lot of people, they say, okay, they're competing with us, so let's just not work with them on the tech front. I think the other way around, because AWS, Google, Microsoft, they have 300 services only on cloud. They cannot really hug only themselves in each one of the fronts: data, security, performance, all the different tools that they provide. And so they are open to working with ISVs on this front. So Wiz, for example, we do cloud security. AWS has Security Hub, they have GuardDuty, they have Amazon Inspector. All of these are cloud security tools. And so instead of going head to head with them, we actually integrated with them. And so what Wiz also did that helped with the success, Wiz at a very early stage, they founded a team here of product integration engineers. Those are developers that transition into doing product integration. And then they work together with the team I'm part of, the Alliances team, to actually build a go-to-market channel with those products. So for example, let's take GuardDuty, a big security tool of AWS. Again, instead of going head-to-head, we actually complement some of them, what they're doing, and the tools can actually work together. And so our team opened the channel to be connected with the service team at AWS that works on GuardDuty. We became their friends, and then we connected our technical folks with their technical folks to actually work on an integration, so that for you as a customer, if you're using GuardDuty and Wiz, the alerts that GuardDuty provides you about security breaches and stuff will appear on the Wiz dashboard, and vice versa.
Yep.
And so on top of that, once the technical integration is finalized, you can start doing go-to-market activities. Like you can, we're already friends. Let's go on stage together and reinvent and talk about how we are so successful in working together. Let's do webinars together. Let's do campaigns. Let's map accounts that use together and see how we can, benefit existing customers or even get to new customers. So that's like a whole new go-to-market channel. And so the tech front is super relevant. This is why I think, the alliance managers should at least have some technical background or be supported by a team, like I just mentioned, because there needs to be someone that actually is working on the integration. If not, it just, again, misses out. And so the technical understanding, and this goes back to what we talked about, better together. You need to do that at phase 0, not even phase 1. Like understand, how can I work together on the tech front with this partner? What we can do together. Let's approach them, build a strategy, execute, do the integration, follow up, give support to customers, and also do the go-to-market channel. And this is only one example. Wiz is doing,
there's
technical work.
plenty of those.
Yeah.
We're getting into the last portion of our podcast, and I would like to ask you 2 more questions, and they relate to each other. First, what type of challenges you're facing today? What's kind of keep you awake at night in terms of, well, that doesn't work. Maybe I should do something else. Maybe I should take another approach in order to make my partnership or alliances more successful. That's one. And the other question is what you recommend, partnership managers or alliances manager like yourself, right? And what not to do, maybe things to avoid, maybe things to, making sure they're not falling into the pit, right? So, what's your take on that?
Okay.
Start with the challenges.
What keeps me up at night, I would say, the challenges. There's a lot of challenges first. Even let's take Wiz. Wiz is like a very successful company with a great product. I mean, for me, I have everything, laid down. It's just like, let's go and execute it. It's not like I'm, working in a company where the product is not, the customers don't like the product, or we're very early stage or whatever. It's just everything is laid out. And still I have a lot of challenges because building and maintaining partnerships is a day-to-day work. And so I think one thing that I'm maybe not a challenge, but one thing I'm trying to focus on, and we're trying to focus on, and I think a lot of companies are now doing the shift, is to focus on co-sell. This is at the end of the day what founders want, sales want, what leadership wants. It's how can you convert partnerships to a streamlined revenue channel that can actually be leveraged and scaled, and I can look at it for 5 years from now. And so a challenge that a lot of alliance managers face, and this is also something from the first meeting that we have, Cloud People, like everyone agreed on that, is I need to build a sustainable co-sell pipeline, channel that actually works. So it's a lot of work to do with with the sellers at the different partners. You need to do account mapping, you need to do the tech integrations, you need to do large scale one-to-many co-sell initiatives to actually execute on that. And the second thing they mentioned is how can I communicate it all the way up to leadership. And so that includes you need to have dashboards and reports, and if you actually get customers to buy Wiz from one of your partners, you need leadership to know that, not only to say I got give me the credit, but also to understand, because it affects the strategy that the company will work on. And so I think that's a challenge, that's like an ongoing challenge, and you need to know how to prove the difference between a deal that's been influenced by a partner or a deal that's been sourced by a partner.
Right on.
Partner did the introduction. This differentiation is super important. It's super hard to do, but you have to have it in your mindset from day one, at least from my experience. Because if not at an early stage, at a later stage, you'll be asked like, can you show me what's the effect of the partner on our revenue pipeline? And this again maybe is an answer to your second question, like a tip for that. It's just my, I got a lot of beats from that, from my experience. Like, you do a lot of work and then you have to have it, mapped, reported, presented equally. You need to communicate. This also goes back to what we said. You need to build a relationship with the leadership, because you or your manager, whoever is like the leader of channels and partners, needs to have this channel to communicate, success stories, what we do well, what we don't do so well, resources we need in order to execute on that, because co-selling is so hard that you need to actually come very smart, very planned out, and you need to build and execute a strategy on that.
I agree.
And the tip is join Cloud People, because we try to teach you, or at least share different success stories on how to do this correctly.
We tie everything together to the community at the end, because that's where people sharing their pains, thoughts,
you can learn, from 5 minutes talking to people, you can learn stuff that you wouldn't learn in like a month reading and trying stuff, and it really helps you do your job well at the end of the day. That's what everyone wants. Yes,
spot on, Nadav. Well, Nadav, thank you so much for being here for almost an hour. It was an amazing conversation. I learned a lot always. It's fun to talk to peers and get their kind of perspective on the partnership and alliances world and how everything has evolved over the years, and kind of learn your journey and where you were, where you're heading. And I think it's quite amazing. And thank you again for your time. It was a pleasure. I think we're done here.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Talk soon.
I'll see you in the trenches. Take care.
Thank you, Eran. Thank you.
Have a wonderful. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Bye.